So the thing you have to be super aware about, and this is good for like all of you guys who are rhythm section players too. Who somebody play bass? Somebody play bass? Yes, bass. Okay. So when you're doing funk, right, bass and baritone saxophone is super, super, super important. Like if you listen to Tower Power and you listen to Rocco, the way he's playing in a very, very specific way. He's like single finger everything, and very, very short, right? And that way he doesn't get into, because the baritone saxophone and the bass, they tend to like fight a lot. So phrasing wise, he's got to sound like a saxophone, which is like very, like either very soft with no attack or very hard, right? So when you're arranging for like a funk band, you have to be really aware that the baritone saxophone and the bass have to be sort of together. So when you listen, like, you know, you go back, you listen to what the bass is doing. So it's actually quite a busy bass line. Boom, 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 boom. So you want to get the idea that there's a baritone saxophone in there without overpowering the bass, and you don't want the bass to overpower so they have to work together. So I thought to myself, okay, well, what's the easy way to do that? It's the downbeat, bomb, bomb, right? But the nice thing about the baritone saxophone is you can kind of, so I want that like barky thing, doom, 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 doom. Then the bass does its own thing, doom, 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 right? So that's sort of what I'm thinking, is like, how do you write a line that doesn't get in the way of, so you can think about sonically too, like the registers of like the bass and the baritone saxophone, right? That, I'm getting very nerdy here, but it's just something to think about. When you are writing brass, you can't just think of it alone as, oh, I'm writing for the brass section, because there's other instruments in the band too, and they can't fight each other when it comes to frequencies, right? So that's a very important thing as well. Guitars, pianos, keys, if there's pads going on, you might have to fight them for frequencies, you know, and so that's something you have to be aware of with range and sort of attacking. Cool. Any other questions about this? Yeah?
Is there anything you do either when you're composing or during production to make sure that the brass section doesn't fight with the vocal?
Oh, yes. Very, very, very good question. And that is something that a lot of people struggle with. You definitely always need to be mindful of like where the melody is. So for me, mostly that means like being able to sing the melody first. So if I'm taking an arrangement and I hear what's going on, I need to be able to be familiar enough with the melody that I know that I'm not playing like a minor second under the melody or something like that. Something that sounds really clashy, right? Yeah, absolutely. That's everybody has their own process, but I think, you know, you've highlighted something really, really important, which is, the brass section is not just a brass section. As horn players, we like to think of ourselves as the melody all the time, but we're not actually. In pop music, we're not the melody. And in some jazz music, we're not the melody either. Like, we are supporting cast. We're like very important extras, right? And I say very important because when the extras don't know their parts, it's very bad. And when they do know their parts, it's very good, right? So, but they're just as important. It's just that they're not as always playing as much, right? Very good question. Thank you.